Temperature is dropping quickly, wind is picking up, and it got dark fast, even though it's the middle of the morning. I think a storm's about to come in, but hopefully we can get this video recorded when I talk about whether Saucony shoes are bad for me. 5.35 miles, 8 minutes, 41 seconds from about 140 beats per minute today, going for a nice and easy run. We've moved everything inside. As soon as I started filming, a giant downpour happened, so we weren't quite able to beat the storm, but here we are inside. And today what I wanted to talk about is my knee and something that's been bothering me for like on and off for a little while. I've been trying to kind of figure out what it is. I've always kind of thought it was something that was more related to some sort of muscle weakness overall. It's something that only happens to me during like high mileage weeks or high intensity of training. It doesn't always happen, but sometimes it does. And I've been trying to figure it out and fix it myself with like mobility type of work. Not like with weights, but with strength training, doing like a circuit, that kind of thing. I haven't been doing it that much lately, and I thought that that's kind of where it came from. But after the Heritage Trail run, where I did have the knee pain come up, somewhere in like the early 20-mile range or so, it really started giving me a problem. I was able to kind of hold on until about the marathon mark, and then for like the last 3 miles and change of the run, I really couldn't push on it very hard at all. I had what I had, and that was it. There was no like moving or pushing harder on it. And so the last couple of weeks, I've been taking it really easy, thinking that like 2 easy weeks of light running, a couple of rest days should kind of resolve things. But on today's run, not during this part of the run in the footage you saw, but after that, I got home and then I woke my daughter up. We took her over to the Heritage Trail and we rode for about 4 miles. About a mile in, my knee started acting up again because this was like the highest mileage I had done. Well, I had an 11-mile day in there like a couple of days ago, maybe 4 or 5 days ago. And this 9 miles total for the day, my knee really started giving me some problems. And I was concerned that, 2 weeks should be plenty of time to come back from the kind of thing that I've been experiencing based on previous experiences. And I was really thinking like about what I need to do about it. I've been thinking, and I'm starting to think that I need to probably see a physical therapist, a trainer, or a physician to kind of like get a professional set of eyes and hopefully hands, but right now I'm more interested in telemedicine, so a set of eyes on like kind of the issue, and get a professional opinion on it. But in the meantime, I was also thinking like, you know what, I've been spending a lot of time lately, especially in this recovery phase that I've been in, running in these 2 shoes, the Ride 13 and the Triumph 18, and it made me think that maybe it's the Saucony shoes that are giving me the problem. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with these shoes, but here's where I'm going and where I'm thinking about all this. I've been running in Saucony shoes for a while, and the first time that I started running in Saucony shoes would have been the Kinvara 9, so it hasn't been terribly long. And in that Kinvara 9, I really like that shoe, but that shoe has like a hint of stability built into it. In other words, there's a part underneath, kind of a little right around where the arch is, where it's a little bit firmer than the rest of the shoe. The idea is that way your ankle and your foot doesn't roll in too much, and it gives you just that hint of stability. It gives you a little bit of stability, but still considered a neutral shoe, so kind of like a best of both worlds for a lot of people. It's something that I really didn't like. It didn't stop me from enjoying the Kinvara 9, but it stopped me from loving it. And I skipped the Kinvara 10 because they mentioned that there was still going to be that hint of stability in it. And the Kinvara 11 I tried. In the interim, I ran in several versions of the Ride 10 GTX, the Ride ISO 1, Ride ISO 2. Those shoes all seem to be fine, the Ride 10 GTX being one of my favorite shoes ever. No problems there. But then I ran in the Kinvara 11, which it looked like they had some of that like extra density underneath the arch, but that shoe didn't give me a problem. I didn't really start to like think about the like Saucony hint of stability issue until I started running in the Freedom 3. So in that shoe, it's a Power Run Plus foam midsole, pretty squishy. I didn't think that there was any like extra hint of stability in that shoe, but something that I noticed was that when I ran it a lot, my knees started to hurt. So let me take a look at, I'll show you how I keep track of my mileage, and we'll go over to my computer for it. And the way that I keep track of it, I have all the shoes kind of listed on top, and I keep a rolling tally of how many miles I've run in each one. I know you can kind of keep track of it in Strava. It's not always reliable for me for whatever reason. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong. So I've always just kept it in Strava, but also like my official tallies are on this kind of Google sheet. And so I first ran in the Freedom 3 on March 8th. And then I ended up taking a little bit of a break from it. I think I was trying to finish out reviewing the ASICS Evo ride. And then I ran it again March 19th for the second time. And then I didn't really start running in it a lot until April 13th, at which point I started putting a lot of miles in it like every single day. Right around this April 23rd point, that's when I just felt like I couldn't keep running in the shoe anymore. My knee was hurting. I thought maybe it was an overuse injury. It was also a weird time. We were in lockdown. I was running really early in the morning. I was under a lot of like psychological stress. And so I thought maybe it was just like a lot of things combining. I needed to take it easier. So I just needed to pull back. But what I ended up doing was taking a break from that shoe. And I ended up running a lot in the Ultra Escalante. I did a ton of miles in that. So even though my legs were like hurting April-ish time frame when I was running a lot in the Freedom 3, and I couldn't get like more than 3 miles into a run without having to like take a break and give my knee some rest, I was able to take out the Ultra Escalante for a 16-mile run, no problem. I don't know about no problem, but I was able to do it fine. Fuel Cell TC, 10 miles, 9 miles in the Escalante, 9 miles in the Nova Blast, lots of miles in the SL20, Adios 5. So like I'm able to run in other shoes, and I feel like I'm realizing there that taking a break from this shoe was really good for me. So I come back to it, and I'm trying to just round it out because at this point I'm like 70 miles into the shoe. So I'm like, I can probably like bang out 3 more runs, space them out a little bit. And I did that, and it ended up being fine. So that's kind of like was my thought about that Freedom 3. I didn't feel in the shoe or while running in the shoe that there was any hint of stability in there. But I mean, what I could tell is when I ran frequently in the Freedom 3, my knee hurt. When I didn't, my knee didn't hurt. So that's kind of what I was thinking. So let's take a look at this 5:27:20 entry here. And I put that in green because in this long period of break from the Freedom 3, I was able to run my first 50K running on the roads in Chicago really early in the morning to avoid people. But I did a 31.1 mile run in the Carbon X's, which is a pretty firm shoe. And I didn't have any knee, the knee wasn't bothering me on that day. So, I mean, I feel like taking the break from the Freedom 3 was definitely something to be, something that I felt like was a pretty prominent observation. So the other thing that I'll note in here is I noticed here that in this time, it might not be completely the Freedom 3's fault. So what also happened in this time is I ran in the Hyperion Elite for the one and only time. A 15-mile run, a pretty hard run. And that day, I remember feeling by the time I was done with the run that my knees were hurting. Everything was hurting. After that, I took a lot of break and I ran basically 100 miles like in like 10 days in the Ultra Boost 20, which is a shoe that feels, at least that boost material, feels pretty similar to the Power Run Plus. That's in the Freedom 3. I didn't have any knee problems or issues there. I think I felt so good once I was done with the Ultra Boost to get back into the Freedom 3 for a little while, at which point after like, 5 or 6 runs or about 50 or 60 miles, that's when my knees started to kind of bother me and I had to take some breaks. So that's why like I wanted to kind of highlight the entire time period of the Freedom 3. So then let's scooch over to more recently where I've been running in the Ride 13 and the Triumph 17, or Ride 13 and the Triumph 18. 2 shoes that I've been really enjoying. I've been liking them so much. I don't feel a hint of stability in them, even though it kind of looks underfoot. Like there's this part right here on this Ride 13, and this part right here on the Triumph 18, where it looks like that is where there might be extra stability. And even if you look at some of the foam that's on the sides here, it looks like there's like a separate like section that's delineated. I don't see it quite so much on the Triumph 18 with the Power Run Plus. But with the Power Run, they do have it like molded at least to look a little bit different. So here's these two shoes that I've been running in. And let's put them over here in this corner. And so I started running. I was running in the Ride 13 a lot leading up to my latest 30-mile run. And that 30-mile run was on July 23rd. So I was running in the Ride 13 already quite a bit. I didn't experience any problem at all. But then by the time I got to that run, I just kind of attributed it to like, you know, that's something that happens to me at higher levels of intensity. Sometimes the knee starts to go. I don't know why. But then what I did was, after running that 30-mile race or time trial or FKT, I ran pretty much every day except for two. One day I rode in the Mizuno Wave Riders, and one day I ran in the Asics Nova Blast. But every other day for like 2 weeks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So for 9 out of 11 days, I ran in, has it only been that many days? 1, 2... Oh, okay. I ran another day in the Meta Racers 12. So 9 out of 12 days, I ran in one of these two Saucony shoes, with the last day where I had 9.5 miles in total, really having the knee flare up again. So I took a break. And then the day after that, I ran in the Ultra Superior. And then I ran a first run, 11 miles and change in the Hoka Clifton 7. Now, with the Ultra Superior, I experienced almost no problem. It's one of those things where you're constantly trying to feel if, does my knee hurt now? Does my knee hurt now? Does my knee hurt now? So you're not really sure, like, am I really feeling knee pain or not? The following day when I went on a longer run, a real test, 11.5 miles total, I did feel it. There was one point where I felt like my knee kind of buckled a little bit. That was at mile like 3.5. I was concerned. I thought about turning it around, shutting it down, but I went for the entire run anyway. And towards the end, I started kind of like feeling, all right, this is a lot for me today. The knee is like starting to like let itself be known, but it wasn't painful. And I didn't feel like anything near what I felt on the 9 miles in the Ride 13s. So I feel like it's getting better by not running in these Saucony shoes, at least so frequently or so many days in a row. So I think that's kind of what's going on, where it's, I think the hint of stability is still there. I can't even tell that it's in there, but my knee can tell that it's in there, if that makes sense. Here's the other question though. I've been also running in these shoes. Well, not this one so much. I haven't been running in the Endorphin Pro so much, but I have been putting in a ton of miles in the Endorphin Speed. I have got 70 miles in them so far, 30 of them being on that Heritage Trail run, that 30-mile run. I don't think it's these shoes that are doing it, because I'm not sure how likely it would be that Saucony would put a hint of stability into two racing shoes or like race type trainers for the Endorphin Speed in that instance. So I feel like what we're getting in the Endorphin series, at least with the Speed and the Pro, are shoes that are more just like pure neutral rather than hint of stability. So I don't think those shoes are really giving me the issue, but I do think that for me, someone that like really doesn't like running in stability shoes because they tend to like make parts of me hurt. I think that these shoes have been a problem for me to run in like frequently. It doesn't mean I don't still really enjoy running in them, but it just makes me have to think about like, okay, for this and me and my unique foot strike, it's not a traditional foot strike. I kind of run like duck footed a little bit. And then I know a lot of you have been telling me that my feet do crash in quite a bit. Maybe it's something that I just need to like be a little bit more like careful in terms of how frequently I let myself run in them and rotate my shoes a little bit more often if I'm going to be running in Saucony shoes. That's what I'm thinking. I still think that I do need to see a physical therapist, because I think that like, you know, avoiding the issue is one great way of like kind of resolving the problem. But I'd like to see if like maybe there's something in my form, in my muscles, my musculature, things that I can correct to make sure that, you know, I can run more happy miles. So that's the idea. So, but it's kind of something that I've been noticing. I know some of you also have noticed the hint of stability in Saucony shoes. Some of you guys, most of you guys seem to love it, but this is kind of where I'm standing on it. So I just wanted to give you guys a little update on what's been going on with what I think's been going on with my leg, and what's been going on with what has otherwise been some of my favorite shoes of the year. If you have any questions about it or have any feedback, suggestions, feel free to put them in the comments down below. I'd love to keep the conversation still going. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of the video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe on your runs, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?